I know that most people are maybe just used to getting their LLC, getting the personal credit right, and that works. But let me give you a quick story time. If you got a minute, check this out. A lot of the clients that come to us, when we first take them on, whether they've been trying to get capital, trying it by themselves, trying a bunch of different hacks, and I put air quotes around that they've seen online, or my favorite, honestly, is people that come to us after having worked with these done-for-you companies that promise them the world, and they just jack their files up. And when I tell you jack them up, I'm talking run them through the mill, worse than a car dealership, with hard inquiries, and then just flat out applying for stuff that doesn't move the needle for the business owner. Just a bunch of credit cards. Like, dude, you could do that yourself. And so when they come to us, one of the first things that we do before we even initiate a funding sequence with them is let's take a look at the business as a whole. Say this with me. Look at the business as a whole. Look at the business as a whole. The reason we do that is because, number one, is if you're not looking at the business as a whole, then you're leaving out the most important piece to funding, which is congruency. It's a big word for it, just meaning, hey, let's just make sure that everything makes sense. That's all that is. And you can tell that I'm passionate about it is because we have these conversations every day with business owners that come to us with these struggles of why they can't get access to capital. And so rather than just going out applying for a bunch of stuff, more often than not, stuff that you can just flat out do yourself, if I'm being real with you, we're taking a look at these businesses. We're auditing the business from top to bottom. We're taking a look at all the business owners, if it's more than one owner, especially when we're dealing with construction companies, home services based business owners, and even real estate investors. That's just our forte, our bread and butter. And we're seeing that when these companies come here, they don't have their business dialed in at all. We're looking at and we're revamping their articles of organization. We're looking at and we're revamping their classification codes, their naming conventions. We're taking a look at obviously the owner's personal data. That still is important. But then taking it a step beyond that is business credit ratings, which I flat out don't see enough people talking about, and it's alarming. The reason why that's alarming is because banks are not looking at business credit scores that you're probably just seeing online, like NAV, or on NAV rather. They're not pulling up a paydex score, and they're not using that as their lending criteria to get you access to capital. It's quite the opposite. They're not even looking at it. The reason why they're not looking at it is because those scores are predominantly based off of vendor accounts, which is a completely different type of account type that doesn't even weigh into the algorithm whenever they're underwriting you. And so it's kind of like saying, hey, I want to get approved for a mortgage, but all I have in my personal credit is a phone bill. I leased the phone one time from T-Mobile. That's not going to be enough to get you a car. That's not going to be enough to get you a house, a mortgage. And I'm just putting it in the personal credit terms. Bringing it back to this right here. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I see so many business owners falling for some of these ads that are out there. And they're honestly just shotgunning a bunch of credit card applications on your behalf, and it's not doing anything for the business other than just putting you in debt. And then also, even if you do get access to the capital, more often than not, the way that these companies operate, if I can use the word sleazy, I will, just to keep it PG on the channel, right? The way that they operate is they'll just put whatever number is needed on that credit file or on that credit application to get you the approval that you're kind of aiming for. But the reason why that gets dangerous, especially at scale, is because as your business does start to grow, and as you do start to report as a responsible business owner the right numbers for your company, remember that big word I gave you earlier, congruency. Well, guess what? It becomes incongruent because let's say if now you're reporting, hey, we're making, let's say, $250,000, and when they went to go place the applications for you on your behalf, if you decided to go with the agency model, they put whatever would make the algorithm tick, regardless of whether or not that was going to damage your file in the future. And so now you come back in and you say, wait a minute, to the bank, wait a minute, I'm getting denied. Yeah, dude, it says here that you were generating $700,000 last year. Now you're putting $250,000. Why is there an 80% drop off, give or take, whatever that number is, an 80% drop off in your revenue? And you're like, holy cow, I had no idea that that's what you guys had in your database. And guess what, dear friends? That now reflects across all of the other banks, financial institutions, and credit unions that were applied for either on your behalf or that you knowingly or unknowingly did. I'm not here to patrol anyone, right? You're going to do with your business what you want to do with it. But if you're going to want to do this the right way, and if you're going to come to a company like ours, who is going to show you how to put systems into place so that you can predictably and sustainably get access to capital, especially as your business scales the right way. And by the way, in any economy, not just in a good economy, but also in a downturn, which is kind of like where we're at now. It's an interesting market. Then when you're connecting with someone like us, when you're connecting with my team, we're going to ask you, we're going to tell you to do things with your file, not just, again, your personal credits, which is where most people just focus on, or not just, hey, just open an LLC, but we're going to take a look at the business as a whole, like what we said earlier, and we're going to make sure that that sucker is dialed in.